My father's voice was shaking when he called 911. Someone robbed us, he said. They took everything. The TV. The refrigerator. The furniture. Everything. I know because I was watching it happen in real time through the Ring doorbell camera on my phone. I watched my mother collapse against the doorframe. I watched my brother's flashlight beam sweep across empty walls and bare floors. I watched my sister scream when she opened the refrigerator door and found nothing but disconnected power cords, and I smiled, because I wasn't a thief. I was the one who bought every single item they were now discovering was gone. With my own money, over 6 years. While they treated me like an ATM with legs, let me rewind to 3 days earlier. Thanksgiving morning. 9 a. The moment everything changed, I woke up to silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind of silence that makes your stomach drop because something is fundamentally wrong. I walked through our 5-bedroom house calling names that bounced off empty walls. Mom. Dad. Damien. Luna. Leo. Nobody answered because nobody was there. The kitchen was spotless. No defrosting turkey. No pie crusts ready for the oven. No coffee brewing. The living room was dark. The driveway had 3 empty spaces where 3 cars should have been parked. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. That's when I noticed it. Every family contact was deleted. Mom, Dad, my siblings, all gone from my phone. Then I remembered Leo had borrowed it last night to look something up. This wasn't a glitch. This was intentional. I had one number memorized from childhood. Uncle Mikhail. My dad's brother who retired to Florida. I called him. It rang 4 times before he picked up, and in the background I heard something that made my blood run cold. Ocean waves. Ukulele music. Hawaiian music. Uncle Mikhail. I said, my voice barely steady. Where is everyone? The pause that followed told me everything. Then he said the words, Anya? Sweetheart, you're still at the house. Your parents wanted to celebrate their 30th anniversary. The whole family flew to Maui last night. My hand tightened on the kitchen counter until my knuckles went white. The whole family, I repeated. That's when I heard my sister Luna's voice in the background. Crystal clear. Cutting through any illusion I had left. Oh my God. You're still talking to her. The plan was to just leave her at home. I hung up without saying a word. For 6 years, I had paid $2,000 a month toward the mortgage of a house I didn't own. $144,000. I had bought the TV they watched every night, the refrigerator that kept their food cold, the washer and dryer that cleaned their clothes, the espresso machine my brother used every single morning without ever making me a cup. I had furnished their life while they planned family vacations without me. They didn't just forget me. They deliberately excluded me. They deleted my contacts so I couldn't call. They left me alone on Thanksgiving. And Luna's words confirmed it was all planned. That was the moment I stopped being their doormat. That was the moment I became their reckoning. If you've ever been the family ATM, the one who sacrifices everything while they take you for granted, hit that like button right now because you're about to watch the most satisfying revenge story of the year. Subscribe because this gets absolutely nuclear. Drop a comment if you've ever reached that moment where you finally chose yourself over people who never valued you. Because what I did in the next 72 hours wasn't just taking back my stuff. It was taking back my entire life. And by the time they landed back from Hawaii, loaded with souvenirs and tropical tans, I had already torn their comfortable world apart. The moving trucks came at 8 a.m. the day after Thanksgiving. By sunset, that 5-bedroom house was a hollow shell, and I had all the receipts to prove every single thing I took was legally, undeniably mine. Now, let me take you back to the beginning and tell you exactly how I ended up paying for a family that treated me like I was invisible. Let me take you back to where this all started. 6 years ago, when I made the biggest mistake of my life. I moved back home. I had just landed a solid job as a data analyst at Meridian Tech, pulling in $75,000 a year. Good money, especially for someone fresh out of grad school. My parents, Alex and Bella Petrova, had this 5-bedroom house with a mortgage of $2,800 a month. They were struggling. Dad's contracting business had dried up during the recession and never really recovered. Mom's part-time bookkeeping gig barely covered groceries. My older brother Damien was 30 at the time, living in the basement, between jobs, as always. He had this endless cycle of getting hired, getting fired for attitude problems, then spending 6 months playing video games while talking about his next big career move. My younger sister Luna was 19, attending an expensive private university 40 minutes away but living at home to save money. Except she wasn't saving money. She was spending mine. My youngest brother Leo was 15, and the golden child who could do no wrong. When Mom called me crying about potentially losing the house, I didn't hesitate. I moved into the smallest bedroom upstairs and started paying $2,000 a month toward their mortgage. Almost 30% of my take-home pay. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I was helping my family get back on their feet. I told myself they appreciated it. I was wrong on all 3 counts. The first month, Mom hugged me and said I was saving their lives. The second month, she asked if I could cover the internet bill too since I used it for work. The third month, Dad mentioned the water heater was acting up, and maybe I could chip in for a new one. By month 6, I was covering the mortgage, utilities, internet, and buying most of the groceries because somehow there was never food in the house when I got home from work. Damien would eat an entire rotisserie chicken I bought for meal prep and shrug when I confronted him. Luna would use my Netflix account, my Spotify Premium, my Amazon Prime, and complain that I had bad taste when I suggested she get her own subscriptions. Leo would leave his gaming PC running 24/7 and act confused when I mentioned the electric bill. But I justified it. I told myself that families help each other. I told myself that my salary was higher so I should contribute more. I told myself that eventually they would get back on their feet and things would balance out. Year 2. I got a promotion and a raise. My salary jumped to $90,000. I didn't tell anyone the exact amount. But somehow the family financial expectations jumped too. The mortgage payment was still my responsibility. But now Dad was talking about finally replacing the ancient HVAC system. Would I be willing to help with that? It was for everyone's comfort. After all, I financed a new heating and cooling system, $12,000 on a 0% interest credit card that I paid off over 18 months. Meanwhile, Damien got his license suspended for unpaid tickets, so he borrowed my car constantly. He never refilled the gas tank. Luna decided she wanted to be an Instagram influencer and needed better lighting. A ring light. A nice camera. Could I help her invest in her future? I bought her a Canon setup that cost $800. She used it for 3 months before deciding that influencing was too much work. Year 3 was when I started feeling the weight of it all. I was 28. No dating life because I had no money for dates. No social life because I was always covering someone else's emergencies. I had spent my entire savings on family expenses. I had no retirement fund, no emergency fund. I was living paycheck to paycheck despite making good money because I was supporting 5 people on one income. I tried to talk to Mom about it once. I suggested that maybe Damien could contribute something. Anything. Since he had finally gotten another job, Mom got quiet and then said I was being selfish. Didn't I understand that Damien was trying to get his life together? He needed to save money for his future. I was more established. I could afford to help. I asked about Luna contributing. She was working part-time at Starbucks while going to school. Could she chip in $50 a month for groceries? Mom looked at me like I had suggested selling Luna's organs on the black market. Luna needed to focus on her education, not worry about bills. I should know better. Year 4. I bought a new TV. The old one had finally died. And since I was paying for all the streaming services, I figured I could at least have a decent screen to watch them on. I saved up my Christmas bonus and bought an 80-inch 4 Kelvins display. $2,500 for exactly 1 week. It was mine. I was the only one who used it. Then Damien discovered it had great gaming performance. Then Leo moved his PlayStation into the living room. Then Luna started hosting watch parties for her friends. Then Dad started falling asleep in front of it every night, watching ancient History Channel documentaries about aliens. I stopped turning it on. I watched shows on my laptop in my room. Year 5. The washing machine died. Mom called me at work in tears. How were they supposed to do laundry? The laundromat was so expensive. I left work early and went to buy a new washer and dryer set. High-efficiency models that Luna had pointed out online. $2,300 delivered and installed. Luna never once started a load of my laundry. Not once in the 18 months I lived there after that purchase. but she sure washed her Instagram wardrobe twice a week. I bought a new refrigerator when the old one stopped cooling during a heat wave. $1,500. I bought a $900 espresso machine because Dad complained that the coffee from the old drip maker was giving him heartburn. Damien used that espresso machine every single morning, making elaborate lattes with the expensive oat milk I bought, and never once offered to make me a cup. I upgraded our internet to fiber because Luna said the Wi-Fi was too slow for her live streams and Damien said he needed faster speeds to apply for jobs online. $120 a month. I bought a mesh network system, so the signal would reach every corner of the house. $350. 6 years. 72 months. $2,000 a month. $144,000 just in mortgage contributions, not counting the appliances, the furniture I replaced, the groceries, the utilities, the internet, the streaming services, the random emergencies that were always somehow my responsibility to fix. And you know what I got for it? I got forgotten on Thanksgiving. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you exactly how that Thanksgiving morning unfolded. Because it's the kind of betrayal you couldn't make up if you tried. After I realized the house was empty, I found one contact I could still reach. Uncle Mikhail, Dad's older brother who had moved to Florida years ago. He wasn't in my phone's contact list because I had his number memorized from childhood. I called him. It rang 4 times before he picked up. In the background, I could hear waves crashing and ukulele music playing. Hawaiian music. Uncle Mikhail, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Where is everyone? You're not at the house. There was a long pause. Anya, you're still at the house. Yes, I'm at the house. Where else would I be? It's Thanksgiving and nobody's here. Another pause. Then I heard him take a breath. Sweetheart, your parents wanted to surprise themselves for their 30th wedding anniversary. The whole family flew to Maui last night. My hand tightened on the counter. The whole family. Well, Uncle Mikhail started to say, but I heard Luna's voice in the background, bright and cheerful and cutting. Oh my God. You're still talking to her. The plan was to just leave her at home. I heard Uncle Mikhail shushing her, but it was too late. The truth was out. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't them thinking I was too busy with work. This wasn't them trying to save me money. They planned to leave me behind. I hung up without saying another word. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the empty coffee mug in the sink. One mug. Mine from yesterday morning. I looked around at the house I had been paying for. The house I had been furnishing. The house I had been maintaining while everyone else treated it like a free hotel. Something inside me cracked. Not in the way that makes you cry or collapse. In the way that makes you suddenly, perfectly clear about what you need to do. I opened my laptop and searched for moving companies open on Thanksgiving. I found one that did emergency moves, premium holiday relocations. They charged double rates for holiday service. But I didn't care. I booked them for 8 the next morning. Then I walked through the house with a notebook and started making a list. TV. Purchased with my March 2023 bonus. Washer and dryer. Purchased with my savings in May 2023. Refrigerator. Purchased on my credit card in July 2022. Espresso machine. Purchased with my December 2023 bonus. Every major appliance. Every piece of furniture I had bought in the last 6 years. I went to my room and pulled out a 3-inch thick binder I had been keeping. 6 years of receipts. 6 years of bank statements. 6 years of warranty cards. I'm meticulous about records. It's the data analyst in me. I had proof of purchase for every single item I had bought. That night, I didn't sleep. I packed my personal belongings into boxes. Clothes, books, documents, photographs from before I moved back home. Everything that was truly mine fit into a surprisingly small number of boxes. Most of what filled this house belonged to me by purchase, not by sentiment. At 8 the next morning, the moving truck pulled up. The crew chief, a guy named Mr. Onever, Henderson, looked at my list and raised his eyebrows. This is a lot of stuff, he said. You sure about this? I'm sure, I said. Let's start with the living room. We took the TV off the wall. I left the mount, because that was technically attached to the house. But the TV was mine. I showed Mr. Henderson the receipt. March 14. 2023, $2,500. Best Buy. We took the entertainment center I had bought because the TV needed somewhere to sit. We took the soundbar I had purchased because Dad complained the TV speakers weren't loud enough. We took the Blu-ray player Luna had begged for and used exactly twice. In the kitchen, we took the refrigerator, the microwave I had replaced last year, the espresso machine, the stand mixer Mom had wanted for Christmas 2 years ago. In the laundry room, we took the washer and dryer. In the living room, we took the couch I had bought when the old one finally collapsed, the recliner Dad had been sleeping in for 3 years, the end tables, the lamps. Mr. Henderson asked me at one point if I was sure about this. He could see the family photos still on the walls. He could see the kids' drawings on the refrigerator before we took it. He could see this was a family home. I showed him my binder. Page after page of receipts, bank statements, credit card bills, all with my name, all with my money. He nodded slowly. Then he said something I'll never forget. Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen a lot of situations. This is the most organized revenge move I've ever witnessed. It's not revenge, I said. It's reclamation. By 4 in the afternoon, the house looked completely different. We didn't take everything. The beds stayed, because they were there before I moved in. The dining table stayed, old and scratched. The ancient couch in the basement stayed. The basic pots and pans stayed. Anything that was there before I arrived or that someone else had purchased stayed. But everything I had bought was gone. And it turned out that was most of what made the house functional. I walked through the empty rooms one last time. I took a video on my phone, showing that I hadn't damaged anything. No holes in the walls beyond what was already there. No broken fixtures. I was meticulous. I knew they would try to claim I destroyed the place. I left the house keys on the kitchen counter. Next to them, I placed a stack of utility bills, all still in their envelopes, all addressed to Alex and Bella Petrova, all unpaid. The internet bill was due in 3 days. The electric bill was due in 5. The water bill was due in a week. I had set up autopay for my account years ago because they kept forgetting to pay bills and getting late fees. That morning, I had canceled all the autopay arrangements. I walked out of that house, locked the door from the inside, pulled it shut, and drove away. I didn't look back. I had already signed a lease on a studio apartment across town. 600 square feet. Just enough for me. The rent was $1,200 a month. Less than I had been paying for a house I didn't own. For the next 6 days, I didn't answer any calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't check social media. I didn't reach out to anyone from the family. I went to work. I came home to my tiny apartment. I unpacked my things. I arranged my furniture, my TV, my kitchen appliances in my space. Everything in that apartment was mine and mine alone. On day 6, I finally checked the Ring doorbell footage from the house. I hadn't deleted the app from my phone. Part of me wanted to see their faces when they came home. I wasn't disappointed. The video showed their car pulling up around 2 in the afternoon. They looked exhausted, sunburned, loaded down with luggage. Bella carried a decorative pineapple. Damien and Luna wore matching Aloha shirts. Leo had a plastic lei around his neck. They looked like a family who had just returned from a wonderful vacation. Alex fumbled with the keys at the front door. I heard Bella's voice on the audio. Honey, don't forget. The light switch in the hallway has been acting up. Alex opened the door and reached for the light switch. Nothing happened. The lights don't work, he said. Did you forget to pay the electric bill? Bella asked, her voice sharp with irritation. Me, you're the one who handles the utilities. I heard them arguing as they walked further into the dark house. Damien pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. He swept it across the living room. Dad, where's the TV? The flashlight beam moved over the empty wall mount. The bare entertainment center space. The gaps where furniture used to be. What the hell? Damien's voice was rising. The TV's gone, the soundbar's gone, everything's gone. I heard Luna scream from the kitchen. The refrigerator too. Bella's voice became shrill. Someone broke in. Call 911. But Damien was already opening the Ring app on his phone. We have cameras, he said. We can see what happened. I watched his face on the camera feed as he pulled up the footage from the day before. I watched his expression change from confusion to shock to anger as he saw me, in clear daylight, with a moving company, systematically removing items from the house. She took everything, he said, his voice flat. Anya took everything. Bella grabbed the phone from him. She did this, but why? Luna appeared in the doorway. Because she's crazy, I told you she was getting weird. She can't do this. Alex said. This is our house. Actually, I thought, sitting in my apartment watching this unfold on my phone screen. This is your house. But those were my things. Over the next hour, I watched them spiral. Bella called Uncle Mikhail. Luna called her friends for sympathy. Damien paced and ranted. Leo, the youngest, was the only one who seemed to understand. I heard him say quietly, "She paid for all of it, didn't she?" No one responded to him. My phone started ringing. First Mom, then Dad, then Damien, then Luna. 12 calls in 20 minutes. I didn't answer. Then the text started coming through. Mom wrote, "We need to talk about this. What you did is unacceptable. We're your family." Dad wrote, "You had no right to take our things. I'm calling the police." Damien wrote, "Seriously, you're that petty, grow up." Luna wrote, "I can't believe you would do this to us. You've ruined everything." I turned my phone face down and finished making dinner. Pasta with the fancy sauce I liked that no one else would eat because it was too expensive. I ate it slowly, savoring every bite. An hour later, I heard a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw 2 police officers. Behind them, I could see Dad's car in the parking lot. I opened the door. "Good evening, officers. Can I help you?" The older one, Officer Brennan, held up his badge. "Ma'am, we received a report about stolen property. We need to ask you some questions." I smiled. "Of course. Please come in. Can I get you some coffee?" I just made a fresh pot. They exchanged glances but followed me inside. The apartment was small but tidy. My TV was mounted on the wall. My coffee maker sat on the counter. Everything was organized and clean. "Black or with cream?" I asked. "Black," Officer Brennan said. "Thank you." I poured 2 cups and gestured for them to sit at my small dining table. Then I went to my closet and pulled out the 3-inch binder. "I think this will explain everything," I said, placing it in front of them. Officer Brennan opened it. The first page was a table of contents. Major appliances with purchase dates and amounts. Furniture with purchase dates and amounts. Electronics with purchase dates and amounts. Total amount spent over 6 years. He flipped through pages of receipts, each one in a plastic sleeve, each one labeled. He looked at bank statements showing the purchases. He looked at warranty cards with my name on them. He looked at credit card bills showing the payments I made. "Everything appears to be in your name," he said slowly. "Because I bought all of it," I said. "With my money. Over the course of 6 years." The other officer, younger and clearly less experienced, looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, your family claims you stole their property." I pointed to the binder. "That's 6 years of documentation proving otherwise. Every item I removed from that house was purchased by me. I have receipts for all of it. I also have 6 years of bank statements showing that I paid $2,000 a month toward a mortgage for a house I didn't own." Officer Brennan closed the binder and slid it back to me. "Ma'am, this appears to be a civil matter, not a criminal one. You have clear documentation of ownership for these items. So I'm not under arrest?" I asked. "No, ma'am, you're not under arrest." He stood up. "We'll need to inform your family that this is a civil dispute. If they want to pursue it, they'll need to take it to small claims court." "Thank you, officers," I said. "I appreciate you taking the time to verify the facts." After they left, I walked to my window and looked down at the parking lot. I watched them talk to Dad, who had been waiting in his car. I saw Dad's arms waving, his face red even from 4 floors up. I saw Officer Brennan shake his head and point back toward his patrol car. I saw the firm, professional stance that said the conversation was over. Dad sat in his car for 10 more minutes before driving away. I slept well that night, better than I had in 6 years. 3 weeks later, I received a summons to small claims court. The Petrova family was suing me for $5,000 in damages. emotional distress, and stolen property. According to the claim, I showed up to court with my binder under my arm. I wore a simple business suit and arrived 15 minutes early. My family arrived exactly at the start time, looking flustered and underprepared. The judge, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, called the case Petrova family versus Anya Kessler. Alex stood up and launched into a speech about family obligations and how I had betrayed their trust. He talked about how I had abandoned them, how I had stolen from them, how I had left them in a terrible situation. He made it sound like I had burned their house down and salted the earth. The judge listened patiently. Then she turned to me. Ms. Kessler, do you have anything to say? I stood up and placed the binder on the table in front of her. Your Honor, this contains documentation of every item I removed from the Petrova household. All of it was purchased with my own funds over a 6-year period. I also have documentation showing that I contributed $2,000 per month to their mortgage for 72 consecutive months, totaling $144,000. The judge opened the binder. She flipped through several pages. She looked at receipts, bank statements, warranty cards. She looked at the mortgage payment records I had included. She looked at the utility bills I had paid. Mr. Petrova, she said, these items appear to have been legitimately purchased by your daughter, but they were for the family. Alex protested. She can't just take them back, can't she? The judge looked at him over her reading glasses. Did you contribute financially to any of these purchases? Alex faltered. Well, no, but it was understood that she was helping the family. Did you have a written agreement about this? A contract stating that her purchases would become family property. No, but I'm her father, and she's an adult, the judge said. She has property rights. She removed property that she legally owned. Bella stood up. But Your Honor, she left us with nothing. We can't even cook dinner. The judge looked back at the binder. According to this documentation, Miss Kessler paid a significant amount toward your mortgage while living there. Did she have an ownership stake in the house? Bella and Alex looked at each other. No, Bella admitted quietly. The house is in our names only, so your daughter paid $144,000 toward a mortgage for a house she didn't own, purchased major appliances and furniture with her own money. And you're now suing her because she took back property she legally purchased. When you put it that way. Bella started. I'm putting it the only way it can be put. Mrs. Petrova. She looked at both of them. This case is dismissed. And Mr. Petrova, I caution you about bringing frivolous claims to this court. There are penalties for filing in bad faith. The gavel came down. I picked up my binder and walked out of the courtroom. I didn't look at my family. I didn't say a word to them. I simply left. 4 months passed. I settled into my new life in my studio apartment. I bought a small bookshelf and filled it with books I actually wanted to read. I bought groceries for one person and never came home to find them eaten by someone else. I paid my bills easily because I was only responsible for myself. Uncle Mikhail called me one afternoon. Anya, I thought you should know. They lost the house. I had been expecting this. How long did they last? 3 months. They couldn't make the mortgage payments without your contribution. The bank foreclosed. Where are they now? In a 2-bedroom apartment. Damien and Luna share a room. Leo sleeps on the couch. They're all pretty miserable. There was a pause. Then he said, they're really struggling. Anya. Luna had to leave her expensive school. She's going to community college now. Damien still can't keep a job. Your parents are fighting constantly. Did they ask you to call me? I asked. Not exactly, he admitted. Then they're not struggling enough. I said, they'll figure it out. They're adults. I meant it. For 6 years, I had sacrificed my financial security, my social life, my independence to keep them comfortable. I had enabled them to avoid responsibility. I had made it possible for Damien to coast through life without consequences. I had funded Luna's expensive tastes. I had protected my parents from the reality of their financial situation, and they had celebrated their anniversary in Hawaii without me. A week later, I got a LinkedIn message. It was from Damien. Hey sis, hope you're doing well. Listen, I have an interview at Meridian Tech next week. Could you be a reference for me? You know how reliable I am when I focus. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I clicked ignore and blocked his account. I thought about sending a reply. I thought about listing all the ways he had taken advantage of me. I thought about reminding him of the years I had supported him while he coasted. But I realized something important. He didn't deserve my energy, not even the energy it would take to tell him off. That evening, I sat on my small balcony with a cup of expensive coffee, the kind Damien used to make himself every morning without ever offering me any. I watched the sunset over the city and thought about the past 4 months. I thought about waking up that Thanksgiving morning to an empty house. I thought about the shock, the hurt, the anger. I thought about the moment I decided I was done being the invisible support system for people who didn't appreciate me. I thought about Uncle Mikhail's call, about the guilt trip he had tried to lay on me. They're struggling, as if their struggle was my responsibility, as if I hadn't struggled for 6 years while supporting 5 people on one salary, as if they had ever once asked if I was okay, if I had enough money left over for myself, if I wanted to build a life of my own. People ask me all the time if I feel guilty. They ask if I regret taking back what was mine. They ask if I miss my family. The answer is simple. No. For the first time in 6 years, I come home to a space that's truly mine. My bills are reasonable because I only pay for what I need. My savings account is growing. My retirement fund exists. I can afford to go out with friends. I can afford to date. I can afford to live. Not just survive. The silence in my apartment isn't the silence of abandonment. It's the silence of peace. It's the sound of a life built on my own terms, with boundaries I enforce, surrounded by things I chose because I wanted them, not because someone else demanded them. I took another sip of coffee and smiled. 6 years, $144,000, and one Thanksgiving morning to realize I deserved better. Best investment I ever made in myself. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a relationship, family or otherwise, where you gave everything and got nothing back? Have you ever reached that breaking point where you realized you had to choose yourself? What did you do? Leave your story in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, because I share more stories like this. And if this resonated with you, give it a like, because sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is take back what's yours and walk away. The freedom on the other side is worth every awkward conversation, every guilt trip, every person who tells you you're being selfish. You're not being selfish. You're being smart. And you deserve a life where your contributions are valued, not expected and ignored. That's my story. What's yours?